You can hear this. You are not alone. This is the resistance.
What's up, everybody? Tin Man with the Worldwide Resistance Network. If you are watching this, you are the Resistance. Joining me today is good old Reverend Ordo and Connor, our Canadian Hitler, for lack of a better term.
We don't want to go to war with the maple syrup people.
Yeah, we don't want to go to war with the maple syrup people.
No, nobody does.
Yeah, and before we get into it, you know, got to do the plug. We got to do the plug before we get into anything. If you like these videos, go ahead and follow us on YouTube as well as Rumble and on X, all at Real TWWRN. And also, be sure to check out our online store. Also, Real TWWRN. The link for that is in the description of this video and can be found on all our social media platforms. We currently got a lot of good shit on there. A lot of t-shirts, hats, stickers. And we just dropped our Charlie Kirk line. You know, we got a new shirt that came out. That was kind of my own little idea. It said the truth is louder than bullets. And on the back, it says, in honor of Charlie Kirk. Go ahead and check that out. Go ahead and pick up yours. Let these people know that the truth will not be silenced. It will go forth boldly and proudly. And even when I'm dead, I'm probably never going to shut up. So, with that said, is Israel involved in the Charlie Kirk shooting? Now, there has been very little evidence to suggest that there is an Israeli tie. I mean, the points that are being presented are subjective at best. But, you know, as far as, you know, was the shooter connected to Israel? Did he have any ties with Israel? Blah, blah, blah. We really don't know that. There are a lot of points that would suggest that, you know, Israel might have wanted Charlie Kirk dead. And we all know that the media and the Democratic Party, who is run by Israel by way of the Epstein blackmail, has created and pushed all of these, for lack of a better term, leftist narratives. And this is very reminiscent, you know, in terms of the woke culture and the LGBTQ trans stuff. And a lot of the stuff we're facing today is very reminiscent to the conditions that sparked World War II, the rise of Hitler, and subsequently the Holocaust. Now, nobody here is saying that Hitler was a good guy or that he didn't go scorched earth and go off the fucking rails. But a lot of people will say that, you know, they don't condone what he did. He was a bad dude. Nobody condones what he did. But people all the world over are starting to understand why he might have did it. And, you know, history seems to be repeating itself. And a lot of that might have to do with the fact that, you know, if you don't learn from history, you are doomed to repeat it. And if you don't know the true history, how can you avoid repeating it? So, Connor, you had some ideas. Take it.
I'm always full of ideas. Like the other day, that flag idea. See, even the one you got in the background here, that's a nifty one too, right? All sorts of things like that. And on top of shirts and sweaters and shirts and hats and oh my, absolutely. I love the merch idea. I love moving that forward. I'll definitely give that small little plug a push as well. Like, definitely get something on there to get something that people can get if they really do enjoy the message, because what I think is going to happen, it's we're on a double-edged sword here, where the people have decided that in one way, shape, or form, Israel stood to benefit. So it's not about you can't avalanche. They see very rarely, very, very rarely will I ever side with anything that Benjamin Netanyahu says. But he brought up the validity of when he says Israel's responsible for everything. Israel blocks out the sun. Israel's pushing back the moon. Meaning that like there is very much a grouping of people that will attribute absolutely every atrocity to it's Israel's fault. Sometimes you'll even hear me catch myself say, well, I really should make sure that this doesn't just always boil down to, oh, it's Israel's fault. Right? Because then we start pushing what would be called the neo-Nazi narrative of things where they're always the one at fault. But knowing that and understanding that simplicity doesn't give them some sort of special firewall from us from actually criticizing them when it's warranted. And we go
when the evidence points to you, you can't scream the race card. Okay, I mean, take that guy who killed that Ukrainian girl on the train. Yeah. All right, a lot of people want to play the race card on that shit. Okay, the evidence is right there. They have him on video jumping up, stabbing this girl, and then walking off the bus like nothing happened. Okay, the evidence is there. You can't scream the race card. And I'm sorry, but if Israel as a whole or as a part or even just a Jewish person commits a crime in any capacity, they deserve to be exposed, tried, and convicted, just like any other citizen. Your race, your ethnicity, your religious background is not a get out of jail free card. And I think that's what World War II was. I think in many regards, considering Israel, or not Israel, but the Jewish community declared war on Germany. We know this to be a fact now.
Well, we have to be careful.
They wanted that sacrifice. They wanted their Holocaust. That's why it's called the Holocaust, because that's the Greek word for burnt offering. Very interesting. They chose that word. They wanted that sacrifice so that they could, one, have their own country, and two, they can have that endless victim card and say anti-Semitism. Semitism is Middle Eastern language. So anti-Semitism, by definition, would be a opposition to Middle Eastern language. And that's not just Judaism. That's not just the Jewish language. That's all Middle Eastern languages.
Here, sidebar on the language thing. Anti-Semitism, disliking Semitic languages would be, I'll give you the most accurate one only because I'm actually the opposite of it. Okay. So I come from this lovely little spot in Canada, which is the only bilingual province. So like we legally bilingual. So like a French person can walk into any store and demand to be served in French, and legally the store must comply. Okay. So it's that kind of like bilingual legal side of things. Okay. And in my province, because I understand why we are legally bilingual, the legally bilingual was established the generation before mine and was strengthened while I was in school. Okay. And it was for this purpose and this purpose alone. This family has the right to raise this child in the language that comes from that family's background so that they may preserve culture and heritage and go to school in that language, to not discriminate against the language. And so I'm the guy that will literally look at you with a straight face and say, not for so many segregational reasons, because I have no desire to segregate people from people. So in essence, if the white kid wants to learn how to speak Arabic and go to the Arabic school, I'm not against that theology. But what would be cool is if the Arabic school existed, or as the Jews have in certain areas in the United States, the Hebrew school should exist. So to be anti-Semitic would be to dislike the language, which would mean that I would be looking at people and saying, you're not allowed to use your language anymore. You're not allowed to teach your language anymore. And in my country, that's actually a mistake that we've made in the past as a political, sociological, we should have never fucking done that. And it's called the reservation schools, when we strip the Native Americans from their culture, their language, their heritage, their land, all of the good stuff. The United States has a very, very tricky and very I don't want to say blasphemous. That's not the one. When inflammatory, like when something can bring someone to rage in a nanosecond. Okay, and it's the slavery topic, right? So the black people and the right in Canada, equivalent would be like what we did to the natives. Like y'all like lynched and hung black people, and like, dude, like I don't think we were any more kinder to the natives. Like,
I mean, we were equally bad. The colonials, or I should say, the British colonials, in particularly, were very harsh to the Native Americans, African Americans, and the Chinese.
Canada.
The Chinese played a big part in building the railroad, if you remember.
Yeah. Like the whole amount of Chinese chances.
We've been non-discriminatory in terms of fuck you, you're going to be my bitch.
No.
And every culture is guilty of it. Black people sold black people into slavery. The Jewish community were big into the slave trade prior to the Revolutionary War in the the Civil War in the United States. Slavery still goes on in much of the world. Hell, even in World War II, the United States put Japanese American citizens in concentration camps because of the events of Pearl Harbor. Okay? So, the United States
I'm looking at
in particular has not exactly been saints. Everybody in the world has done fucked up shit to everybody else. And this is something that really pisses me off. And I've been thinking about this past couple of days. I wish I had said this in my video that I made. Everybody bitches about the 6 million Jews that were killed during the events of World War II and the Holocaust. But nobody even knows how many people Mao Zedong killed. Wasn't it like 80 million, somewhere within that ballpark? Killed like 80 million of his own people. Most people don't even know that Mao Zedong killed anybody, let alone 80 million of his own fucking people.
Well,
and you're going to tell me that that 6 million Jews is a Holocaust, but 80 million people killed by Mao Zedong? All I get is crickets? As if one life has more value than another? I thought we were a society of equality. Blacks wanted equality. Women wanted equality. That's what we were. That was what the progressive movement was all about. That everybody, regardless of your race, gender, religious ideology, or whatever, stood on equal fucking ground. But nobody knows that Mao Zedong killed 80 million of his own people. Revan.
Go ahead.
This is going to be a two-parter here. First part, it wasn't just it was the Japanese, Italian, and German Americans that were in the camps.
It was immigrants.
Two. Now, I want to go here real quick, and maybe a controversial question here.
Say it. I love being controversial.
This is like prior to World War and end of World War I, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the Jewish community in Germany and in Austria and Norway, were any of them Zionists?
probably some.
Yeah. Well, Zionism started at what, the end of the 1800s. It's a system that's been around for about 100 years or so.
But thing is,
1919.
1919.
I mean, you got to think for one here is that not every Jew was a Zionist in Germany and Austria.
Exactly.
Exactly, and that's what makes the Holocaust so atrocious.
The reason why they attacked the population in Germany and throughout Europe is that when you look at Hitler and Goering and all the ones, they blamed their failures on the community that's already there, thinking they're in fear. Yeah. Nobody's in fear of anybody.
Yeah. The biggest thing that happened there, and I talked about this in the video I aired on Monday.
Yeah.
At the end of, the Rothschilds have funded every major war since the time of Napoleon. Okay, Who are the Rothschilds? A Jewish family. Okay, Jewish banking cartel. Okay, they funded World War I. They got the Americans involved so that the Germans didn't win the war, because the Germans pretty much had that war won. But the Rothschilds got the Americans involved, turned the tide of the war. Germany lost. Germany was pretty much on its fucking knees in terms of survival. Their economy was shit. The cost of living was outrageous, and they had this LGBTQ type culture immersed in their culture and their media and just all facets of life, much similarly to the way things are here now in the United States.
All manner of perversions is what we would normally say.
Yeah, and it's not just, gay people or even trans people. It was bestiality, incest, prostitution, sex slavery, a lot of things that we're seeing today. And this really pissed off the German people. And then, for whatever reason, you get that publication that says the Jews declare war on Germany. And here comes Adolf Hitler and goes, okay, it's too much trouble to distinguish the Zionists, who are the ones who are causing the problems, and the regular God-fearing Jews. So, fuck them. Kill them all, like God sort them out. That was the wrong way to do it.
He tried. This is the sad part. He tried to export them. He put them on ships and he put them out. And countries like mine and others had a none is too many policy, so we didn't let any of them in. So this is the fucked up thing. Not only were they expelled from 109 nations at the time,
but nobody else wanted to take them either.
Nobody was going to receive them until the Palestinians, and that was like a double-edged sword because 1919 is a whole letter that was written to somebody, and the whole like promising of Palestine for the creation of the Jewish state. This is 1919. This is way before World War II's 1945. Hitler hadn't got upset yet, right? Like, and inside that document, it explains like that a war will erupt and so on and so forth. And at the end, the spoils will be from of that will go into this cause. And then nobody paid no mind to it. And then later on in life, next thing you know, Second World War happens. And here's the messed up thing. There's some documents floating around that explain that this is two interesting pieces of information that have been brought to my attention as of late. One was that apparently in World War I, Russia killed 6 million Jews. And that's like a publication that happened. So not Germany, not World War II, but Russia in the First World War managed to kill 6 million individuals. And then the other little piece of information is that they say Adolf Hitler's Germany deposed of 6 million Jews, but the population of the country at the time, they did censuses. Like, there's a lot of people don't get this. Like, my country does shit politically that's similar to Adolf Hitler's Germany. One of them is we run a census. So there's a piece of paper every few years that goes to the homes, and they ask, how many people live there, like male, female, how many children, pets, cars, fucking how many four-wheelers do you have? they're quite literally tallying up and calculating the assets of the nation, and you have to fill this out. It's against the law if you don't. So Hitler did shit like that, which tells me that Hitler had a written record of how many Jews were inside of Germany. Okay, that's important.
Yeah.
The problem that we're faced with as people who took the 5 minutes to look into this is there wasn't 6 million Jews inside of Germany. They're physically, I'm going to go into a forest that has 15 deer, but I'm shooting 25, boys. It's just happening today. I'm going to shoot me some 25 deer. But Mark, there's only 15 deer in them forests. I'm shooting 25. So there wasn't 6 million Jewish individuals inside of the great country of Germany of the time. So how can you exterminate 6 million of something that's not present? And then I'll say, okay, well, we got like Poland and we're like trucking them in by the trains and this and that. And so I'm letting my brain, cognitive dissonance saying it's all a lie. They're just trying to brainwash you. I'm doing all that, right? This was years ago when I was doing this research. And then the nail in the coffin that did it for me was the gas chambers. People that were doing the investigations in that documentary. That documentary is like 6 hours old. It's the greatest story never told, Adolf Hitler. And they're not talking about how his nonsensical stuff. They're talking about his politics, how he brought his country around, his economic plan. And then eventually the systematic destruction takes place. It's in the documentary. It's what the Germans learned. And when they learn World War II, they learn it in a specific way, and we learn it in a specific way. So it's their shit that I'm learning. Their narrative. And their narrative is reasonably spot on, because what's happening is this person, the investigator that's gone to the World War II memorial and all these things, and now they're in Auschwitz and they're looking at the fucking gas chambers, right? Well, the guy that's doing this is some sort of an architect. He's a builder of sorts. He has a general understanding of what buildings look like when they're initially built, when walls are taken down, what it used to be, what it can be, all of that stuff, right? Like, this guy's he's just not a fool. And he's explaining to the viewership that by looking at the concrete floor, you can see the lines, that the building that they're standing in is a bathroom, not a shower, a bathroom. You could see where the lines on the floor was, where the stalls were to separate the toilets. And he said, furthermore, because he asked the person later, he said, are you sure that hole in the ceiling is where they dropped the Zyklon B? I am very, very sure. I assure you that this is where they solemnly put to death the Jewish individuals. They dropped the Zyklon B from the roof. But the guy couldn't walk away from it just like that, because the guy examined the hole, and like I said, he was a building dude. Like this is just what he does, and he concluded quite quickly, without any real serious need for observation, the fucking hole was made like 10 years after the fact. Like the hole and the casing around the hole where they said they were dropping things into, it was made after the fact, as in like way after the war. And there's just a bunch of things. Very few people understand that there was a typhus outbreak. Very few people understand that's passed through fucking just common head lice. And that don't ask me whether or not they were burning bodies in an incinerator. The answer to that question is absolutely they were. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like A, people didn't die during World War II, and that B, we didn't dispose of people inside of furnaces. Christ, you come to my little city, we dispose of people in furnaces. We all do. We all cremate now. It's a thing. We all got furnaces now. Look how that spread. The Germans always got good ideas. So, sorry, that one was.
Yeah, so Democrats, if you cremate your loved ones after they die, you're a Nazi.
Right? So that's the fuckery of it all. So I'm not saying that none of this never happened. And this documentary is not asking you to suspend the belief of the war, of the tortures, look at Guantanamo Bay. Look at what we're doing to Muslim people when we just want information and we don't even know they're lying to us, but we'll waterboard them and find out, right? So to pretend with a straight face that none of these atrocities are a reality is absurd. But on the flip side of the same coin, to immediately assume that absolutely everything is 100% Israel, we have to be careful there too, because that's a very slippery slope. Like fucking Yoda, man, to a dark place this path brings us, right? I'm not afraid to walk in the dark.
Place the blame where it belongs based on concrete evidence.
Yes, I can spit out ideas and things that I think will happen, but I always follow that up with some sort of like, but let's just wait. Let's just be sure. Like, for instance, I have a hard time not thinking that, oh shit, I don't even think it was you guys I spoke this to. It's one of the originals. I told him, I was like, dude, I said, I have to be very careful with this one. He's like, why? He's like, because I'm starting to believe that his wife is in on it. That's serious. When I found out how much money, the amount of money, do you guys know how much money he refused?
Over $100 million.
$150 million. He refused it directly from Netanyahu. Netanyahu made the offer.
We're talking about Kirk. I thought you were talking about somebody else. I'm like, yeah, you should have said Charlie Kirk. Yeah, about $100 million was offered to him by Netanyahu.
Yeah,
does that mean he killed him? No.
From a Polish guy who thinks he's Jewish.
So that's and what I think has happened here is, like I said in the last video, was that he was very pro-Israel, and I know the stance. I know that I was this stance in 2012 when I started looking into the banking elites, the New World Order as a whole, and not in parts, because we realized quickly that there's a lot of moving parts to create this big theory. That's why there's this thing called the theory of everything, and everybody's like, oh, that's a physics theory. Well, that's one of them, but the theory of everything is people like me piecing together absolutely everything that we can find, where you literally need a team of people researching different directions so that you have opposing opinions, and then you bring them together. That's what people like, the conspiracy theorist black belts, the highest level of conspiracy theorist stuff. That's what we're working on. That's what we're trying to figure out. The problem is that we're inside of the Israeli narrative now. Yeah, we did all of the German stuff, the World War II stuff. We did all of the 9/11, the gotta hate them Muslim stuff, right? We made sure that we adequately covered like the civil rights movement and making sure that African Americans in the United States were treated as equal. Like we're covering all of this shit, but it's really only the Israeli one that's causing sandpaper reactions, and if the Israelis were fucking 2 cents smarter than what they are, just 2 cents smarter than what they are, they just play along. Maybe that's part of their game. Maybe that's what they want. They want everybody pointing the finger at them. That way they can play the victim. Well, see, if they set it up, think about it. Hold your thought. Benny Netanyahu was offering Charlie Kirk all this money. Charlie Kirk refused it. Charlie Kirk started speaking out against Israel. Now Israel, after the death of Charlie Kirk, is trying to paint Charlie Kirk as pro-Israel and allowing, and maybe even behind the scenes, perpetuating this notion that Israel had something to do with it, so that when the facts come out, they can say they were wrongly accused and it's anti-Semitism and push for more anti-Semitic speech laws. It was never that big. It was always, I just had a fucking epiphany.
Have your epiphany, my friend.
Okay, so what is the president of the United States? What is he? Like, I know he's a this and a that and so, but like his job, what does he do?
Basically, his job, as with any elected official, should be, in theory, to execute the will of the people by majority vote. You know, if the majority of the American people want Swiss cheese over blue cheese, the elected official provides the Swiss cheese.
And what tool does the president have that's like his most democratic tool, although it's not democratic when you think about it?
His biggest tool in terms of getting shit done would be policy proposal and executive orders. There may be more to that in terms of the delegations of power and authority to members of his cabinet, in contrast to what gets presented to Congress and the Senate. And then, you know, the states, counties, and cities have their own jurisdiction and in many cases their own laws. So it's become an overweight convoluted system.
So for all of them slow folk out there like myself, the president is the commander in chief, and the most powerful tool he has is the military. And then it just dawned on me. I was like, fuck, it was never that big. It was just never that small either. And that's why it got lost. So check this. The presidents and prime ministers of every country, it's the same thing. They are the head of their militaries, which means the head of the military's primary concern, aside from the national security and like don't let my people die thing, aside from that, the head of the military, the top, their primary concern is really just one thing: recruit and retention. How do I get more soldiers, and how do I keep these soldiers? Okay, well, see, Charlie Kirk was pro-Israel in the beginning. This is why it changed. This is what it was. He was pro-Israel in the beginning, and then as Israel was starting to color outside the box, right around October 7th, when he asked if there was a stand down order, shit got serious real quick, because if there's a stand down order on October 7th, then that's like Israel's 9/11. They just kind of let that shit happen. And very few people will actually look into what Israel did right before October 7th. But before October 7th, Israel has been accused of committing 2 international war crimes against the Palestinian people, which is why they stormed the wall on the 7th. Nobody just fucking storms a wall for nothing. Somebody did something somewhere. Someone got upset, and now we're storming the wall, right? Because you don't just wake up one day and be like, I'm going to storm the wall, right? So, and then it's kind of like, it's kind of like what that American president did. He's like, if they just do this, then I'll go to war. But if they don't do this, I ain't going. And then the other president found out. He's like, okay, well, that's the only thing that's going to bring them to war. Then fucking go do that one thing, right? Like that. And so, right. So they did the war crimes, and then they stormed the fucking wall, and then the war started. Now here comes the nonsense attached to it. With war comes death. It's a fucking funny thing, right? With war comes death, and you have soldiers, and they're dying, and that's sad. That's inappropriate. But now, Benjamin Netanyahu, he would like to continue fighting. But in order to fight, you need soldiers.
His soldiers keep dying.
But his soldiers keep dying. How am I going to replenish the Israeli army? Foment international global hate of the Jewish people so that the countries expel the Jewish people. And then those people are forced to go to Israel. But what does
they're conscripted into the Israeli military?
Now, what was Charlie Kirk really doing? He was separating the hatred of Jews and the hatred of Zionism. He was separating it, because what happens is that when the Zionists fuck up, that international global condemnation of Jewry becomes a hell of a lot harder to accomplish if the hosting nations are like, no, y'all don't got to leave. No, you got to stay right here with us. Do you want to leave? Like, do you want to go? You can go to Israel if you want. I don't want to hold you captive. But you don't have to go.
Yeah.
You can stay here. It's been safe for you all this time. You don't need to go. You don't have to go to fucking Israel and enlist to become cannon fodder for that fucking psychologically egotistical mania. You don't have to do that. Okay. And I think what Charlie Kirk was doing was he was teaching the generation right below us to separate the international Jewry and Zionism so that he would have the youth. And if you got the kids who know the difference, they ain't running overseas to line up and sign up. So through separating international Jewry and Zionism, you're preventing Benjamin Netanyahu from fomenting international global hatred against the international Jewry to force them to conscription in Israel. Now that is a good enough reason for the head of any military to kill somebody.
Yeah. The problem is we don't have any evidence. You know, you got a good motive, but we don't have any evidence that ties Israel to the shooting directly. You have the shooter.
$150 million was for him to speak good The 150 million was to make them an Israeli propaganda machine to
Yeah.
stir the kids pro-Israel, and then inside of the pro-Israel grouping of this generation, there would always be, even if that percentage is 1% or 0.5%, if you give me 10 million people and you give me 0.5 of that is soldiers, I'll take that number. Why not?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you have a good motive here. There's a lot of things that line up to suggest that Israel could have been involved, but the trigger man, at least the person they are saying is the trigger man, has no Israeli ties. He has no ties to Mossad, no ties to the CIA, no ties to the Jewish community in part or as a whole.
The time he has, he doesn't even know that he has.
Dating a trans furry and decided, oh, well, my boyfriend, girlfriend person doesn't like what Charlie Kirk is saying, so here's a dozen red roses and a bullet in Charlie's neck. Happy Valentine's Day, babe.
Right. Well, see, the tie that he has is not even a tie that he knows or anybody. It's not a tie that anybody would know that you would have. There's this information going around where they're starting to dispatch of the quote unquote useful idiot, for lack of a better word. And I'm not talking about Charlie Kirk in that light. What I'm talking about is the transgender movement and the protests and allowing it to get violent and allowing this and that and the next thing. People are beginning to say that Charlie Kirk's shooter is being painted as transgender so that they could do away with that movement, so that the transgender movement will always be synonymous to shooting people because they don't agree with you. But that context in its own is an Israeli concept. They call it the ritual of doing away with the useful idiot.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that. I mean, if you look in terms of the left versus right as a whole, what did Alex Jones say in 9/11 Road to Tyranny? People shift into mindless groupthink when faced with an outside threat, whether real or manufactured. It has been manufactured that the left hate the right, and and is perpetuating this narrative that trans people are the most violent, and you have the majority of recent mass shooters being trans and all that. That's creating a narrative. That's creating the straw man, the outside enemy that was manufactured. That is a manufactured enemy. And now you have Trump being held up as the enemy of the left. Whether he is or he isn't, whether you agree with his policies or not, that is the narrative that is being sold to the left. The left are being sold the idea that Trump is Hitler, Trump is a Nazi, and his supporters are the next Third Reich, and they're going to destroy the left. You now have this precedence, this prison mentality, where the inmates are pitted against each other so they don't go after the guards.
That's right. You
have the manufactured enemies, the left manufactured against the right, and the right manufactured against the left.
The other thing that raises a lot of serious questions is the ridiculously large, pro-Israeli package that was passed in the Senate, literally the day that man was shot. The Senate.
Yeah, nobody's talking about that.
They sealed the Epstein files. They sealed the Epstein files. They approved a ridiculous amount of money for defensive weapons, which is an important thing to take into account because the United States has been saying that if this shit doesn't simmer down, we're no longer selling offensive weapons. So I'll sell you a bulletproof vest, but I'm not selling you a gun. That's a step that's being taken, right? And then there's this other side of me. What happens when both sides of the American political aisle realize that staying on Israel's side will turn into a bad thing? They are going to eventually figure out that the people that stand with Israel don't get voted for. That's going to be a thing that happens. And when that happens,
here's the thing. It's already happening. The left have pretty much turned against Israel, yet they say that the Republicans are Nazis. Many people in the right are calling for Trump to end the U.S. relationship with Israel.
Like,
People like Alex Jones in particular. Alex Jones, Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, and all these people are saying, end your relationship with Israel. The Democrats and the Republicans, for the most part, are on the same page here. Was it Bernie Sanders is a socialist, is a Jewish socialist, and he is outspoken against Israel as much as people like Alex Jones are. Alex Jones and Bernie Sanders can sit there and have a fucking cup of coffee, spinning a fucking dreidel on a coffee table just for the fun of it, just because they share common ground on this one issue.
And this one's going to bring people together, because this is the whole, like, the whole Christianity thing. This is why church and state was separated and all that good stuff, because people were using God as a political tool. But like the whole Israel being God's chosen people, okay, that's no different than Adolf Hitler's song and dance of the Aryan race being the master race, right? That's where you hear me say they're suffering from beaten children syndrome, where it's what has been done to them, they are doing to others. Understanding it doesn't make it okay. It doesn't mean I agree with it, but I get it, and it should come to an abrupt halt.
You don't condone the behavior, but you understand the psychology and
attached to it,
and the steps that brought them to that point.
Yes, and understanding the psychology is like half of the battle, because if you don't even understand the psychology, how are you going to approach the troubled person? Like the job of any good psychiatric doctor is to know, like, okay, well, this guy is trying to do all of these things because he's got a bad attachment with his father, we'll say, right? So now that I know this, I'm going to try to give him positive interactions with men, so that he can open up to one of the boys, and that can become a light instead of always having the darkness of not being enough for his father, right? So like, no, that's just psychology. It's a very impressive science to kind of look into. To me, it's a pseudoscience. Doesn't make it any less important, but it's there. So, and they got all this shit going on, right? So Israel's doing all this stuff, and everybody's like coming to terms. They're realizing what's happening. We are like a hop, skip, and jump away from the American population realizing that man, you go to Wikipedia and you find out who Israel has actually assassinated and who they've been alleged. Dude, that shit is classified by decades. So like
it's still out there.
It's on the Wikipedia. But it's classified by decades. So like in the 60s and then in the 70s and 80s and 90s, like they have every 10 years, a lot of people that just drop. Some of them are confirmed and some of them are just not. Like the United States is crying properly and with due respect about Charlie Kirk, which was one leader of one movement. At the same time, like the week prior or days prior, like people are like, oh, do we really think Benjamin Netanyahu could do it? Bro, this is the motherfucker who blew half a bunch of people up with pagers, man. Didn't care where they were standing when the page went off. Take that into consideration. It was a military action. It was a military targets, and I can get all that. I can understand all of that. Most of the time, military actions that involve taking out military targets involved on some sort of a military-approved battlefield. Very rarely does it happen in a fucking grocery store, right? So the beepers went off, and these people were just dropping dead wherever they stood at that moment. And that was something that they had worked years and years and years and years and years on to put together. And then boom, all of a sudden it went off. So like, do I think they have the heart? Do I think they could? Yeah, absolutely do. Like these guys here, the people the individuals who designed the nation state of Israel were like 3 or 4 dudes that were like the head of Israeli terrorist groups before. So, okay, so there's 3 of us, right? Okay, so I'm going to terrorize half of fucking Canada, and you're going to terrorize half of the United States. We're going to get a couple of Mexican guys, and we're going to terrorize half of Mexico. And then when we all get together and say that like the side closest to the Atlantic Ocean belongs to us, and we're going to call it fucking Utopia 3.7, right? Well, we would become the leaders of that nation, but up until that point happened, we would be regarded as nothing more than generals of a terrorist band of nitwits, right? That's what Israel is. It's a grouping of generals of terrorist fucking nitwits that terrorize the great nation of Palestine after they were like, Jesus Christ, they were invited in. What? Like, do you guys know what the Nakba is? The Nakba? Okay. The Nakba was, a lot of people know a lot of like of the dark, deadly aspects of what it was. But like I heard this woman explain it. And sometimes you just need someone to put it out there properly for you. So what happened was not too long after World War II, a bunch of Jewish settlers were arriving, and the Palestinians were quite legitimately opening their physical homes. They were taking people into their homes. And so take that into consideration, okay? So me and 10...
Same thing that happened during and after the Crusades.
Right, yeah, but see, this is where it gets fucked up, okay? So let's pretend me and 6 million of my Canadian buddies, we come down to the United States, and like a bunch of people just fucking open up their homes, right? And then in those 6 million, I put together a militia, and I'm going to call it my army or my whatever, okay? And then on one very specific day at one very specific time, okay, I'll say, because I know that they all go to the mosque at this specific time to pray, and they're good God-fearing Muslims and so on and so forth. When they left their homes to do whatever the fuck it was that they were doing, they came back to their homes, the locks were changed. And the guy looked at the woman.
Oh, okay. I get it now. I seen this one yesterday where a woman was out at her front porch because a guy was come in and take her house. She goes, "You're trying to take my house."
The same video I shared in my stream on Monday.
If do it, someone else will.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but
then he sits there and tries to play the victim and go, "This isn't my fault." Well, if I don't steal it, somebody else is going to steal it.
Yeah, and
talk about an oxymoron.
But what happened? Like, and this is the most sadistic part of it is that like, motherfucker wasn't lying. Best house on the block. It's my fucking house now. And if I don't take it, I already know that Billy Bob's coming to take it to brag about it next week. So fuck Billy Bob. I'm so sorry for your loss, but it's mine. It's fucking dark, dude. That's dark. And it's not the first time that shit has happened. This is what they do to them. Right? Like, and on the regular, and like, it took a few years. Like, these people needed to learn how to speak English so that we understood their plight. Like, that's fucking horrendous. Like, we didn't have Google Translate and the Rosetta Stone fast enough to stop this from happening. If they could, like, this is straight up fucking Tower of Babel consequential shit because we cannot communicate with each other inside of one fucking language. Look at the atrocities that we allow to happen all over the goddamn world just because we don't understand when someone is saying help and someone is saying, "I'm going to fucking kill you." We can't tell because we don't understand the language. That's preposterous. And now here we are. What is it, like fucking 75 years later? Took 75 fucking years to sort this shit out. And it's not even sorted out. We just realized the problem. We don't even have the answer yet. We just realized it's broken. We might have to fashion some shit that don't even exist to fix this thing. Like a whole political party that doesn't exist may have to be born so that it becomes an issue that can be voted on in the polls. That's how fucking large this is, because entire nations now have to decide, no, we're just not doing it anymore. But the problem is that too many allies in Europe, and these motherfuckers have the Samsung option. So the only thing that's left now, and this is the dark part, this is why I'm called the warmonger, and I'm called to this and I'm called to that. It's either A, we put an end to it, or we trust that they'll stop. I don't trust anything that comes out of that fucking part of the world anymore. I don't trust Israel for as far as I could throw my soul in prayer if I had to. I don't trust those fucking people. They can't even get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu as their political fucking representative. They say, oh, there's here's the twist inside of the internet, inside of the news. Oh, the Benjamin Netanyahu is getting backlash because of this and getting backlash because of that. Motherfucker's getting backlash on like economic policies and some shit that he probably shouldn't have said or done in regards to. But Israel, in a good portion, because I can't even say as a whole, because that blanketly brushes a fucking entire grouping of people, and you can't just do that. Or maybe that's the point. Maybe that's why Israel exists. Maybe so you can just fucking blanket them with the fucking brush, because you can't move there without knowing what the fuck's going on. You can't
Yeah.
you can't get up and go. Like, you need to know what that place is about. You can't just go there. Like, sure you could.
Yeah, you don't buy a house without going and checking out the house and, making sure everything works. You don't buy a car, without running a diagnostic on it and getting the quote Carfax.
So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should just be saying they're all pieces of shit. I don't know. But in the greater aspect of knowing that they're probably not all pieces of shit, there is a great portion of them that totally agree with what's going on in Gaza. They all want the new houses and the land and the this and the that, and they want their burger. They just don't want you to tell. They just don't want to meet the cow. That's the problem.
Reverend, you had a thought. You've been wanting to talk for a minute. Go ahead and take point after I make this statement, Connor. At the beginning of the broadcast, I called you the Canadian Hitler, just in joking. I have to apologize for that.
I'm not offended.
You're really not. You're sitting there saying the same thing that I said in the beginning, that we don't condone what he did, but we understand the psychology of how it got to that point. We don't support Hitler and what he did, but we understand how it got to that point and how it's happening again. Reverend, go ahead and have your thought.
I'll go on next here real quick. Two things here. The Philippines have refused to do another military contract with Israel.
Yeah, a lot of people are cutting them off.
Mm-hmm. Candace Owens, she can't keep her story straight. She got pissed off because she was invited to Charlie Kirk's memorial. And Michael Savage calls her the black racist in a dirty skirt and a female Louis Farrakhan.
See, and this is what we're worried. This is what we're trying to safeguard even ourselves against. Because she toured with Charlie for like a year. Like, she was close to that dude. So she's
a good friend.
Venomously upset. Like, she's venomously mad. Like, she's don't get bit right now by her.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that Erica Kirk is in charge of Turning Point, and she's the new CEO.
Yeah,
that makes sense, though.
Well, I mean, he didn't have any stock on it, did he? So there'd be no CEO except for anybody who owned the majority of stocks.
Well,
or
that's what I was saying earlier. That's what I was saying earlier, is that is Turning Point becoming the next Project Veritas, where, because there's a potential civil war within the group, within the organization. Now, if you look at Project Veritas, Jen O'Keefe, the founder and CEO, was fired because the board together was getting greedy. And it was about the money. And investors and shareholders went with Keefe because they trusted him. And after he got fired, he created the O'Keefe Media Group, and all the investors, all the shareholders went to that. They followed him. And now we got Turning Point USA in a unlikely civil war, and Charlie Kirk gone, founder and former CEO. His wife took over. Like there's something going on there, man. And plus, like Cass Owens, she can't keep her story straight,
How so? Elaborate on that. You said that like 3 times. Elaborate on that, please.
Well, it's about money.
Okay.
It's about money.
Okay.
Okay. Any organization that have brought in a lot of money through donations and shit like that, through shareholders and investors, there's always the connivers in the back of the shadow, conniving and colluding on what can we do to get to the money? Because it's always about
There's
money.
always politics going on behind the curtain. You have the show, and then you have the back room politics.
Yes.
How do I get the bigger budget for my segment kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah. And now, since Kirk is in charge, people are throwing out these things that she's a honeypot. She set him up. All this bullshit, all this crap. And Cass Owens is talking crap on the wife who lost her husband, and her kids lost their father. What the fuck?
Well, and that's what was going even through my head. I was like, the only way we're going to know is it'll be inside of the next step, because she could like take the reins and like she could decide 0 Israeli money is allowed inside a Turning Point. She could decide that the first real world. Okay, this
would be that person who would do that.
Right. Well, I'm talking about Kirk's wife. That's why we got to be careful. We got to be careful, because if Charlie Kirk's wife makes this move, anybody who's anybody is going to follow her on this move. At least I think. But I don't think this move is going to happen. But this is if I was in charge, Miss Kirk, Candace, Jones, all of you, if I was in charge, if it was my shtick, I would take this right here, right now, and I would make it so much noise. And I would tell the governing body of the United States that AIPAC must register with FARA. And if it chooses not to, and I'm just going to say Israel, and I'm going to say all foreign nations must adhere to registering with FARA. And if they choose not to, and it's this part here that's important, if they choose not to register with FARA, they must immediately leave the country and cannot return until the completion of the next election with proper documentation and paperwork stating that you are registering with FARA. You can't return until you register, but you can't get kicked out today and come back in 2 weeks. You can only return after the new president has been sworn in, which means your opportunity to sway the American election is removed. Your ability to lobby for what you want inside of that election cycle is lost. That's your punishment, is that you take your ball, you go the fuck home, and then maybe we'll listen to you. When it's different than what you guys are saying about people that are illegally coming into the country. Nothing legally immigrating. Fucking bees are attacking me. Nothing wrong with legally coming in and doing it all the right way. But if you did not do it the right way, and if it's not legal, the door is there. And when your paperwork's in order, we will welcome you back. It's not rocket science. Now, if she pushes that, both sides, left and right, are going to say yes, because we don't push it as Israel must register with FARA. No, everybody does. And then when Israel refuses, that just becomes another thing. I noticed that we're all glitching out here. It's interesting. It just becomes another thing that they're choosing, signing the nuclear deal and not listening to JFK when he said don't activate the democracy. It just becomes a
yeah, I think
that
it's your
they choose
connection,
not
bro.
to do.
Maybe disconnect and reconnect real quick.
I don't know. It's probably because I'm outside here. That's probably what's happening to me.
Probably, and you're
So
doing a lot of
that's
moving
what
around, so you're probably having that same problem that I had when I was on with Brevin and I was at work. You know, you hit those blind spots with your Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Right.
But you know that is an interesting concept. You know, but AIPAC, you know, it's just I don't even really know wholly what AIPAC is, other than it's a pro-Israel propagandist machine.
I think it's American Israeli policy something, political action pack or something like that. It's the Israeli lobby.
Exactly. And
It's not something that an American owns. It's not something that
No.
It's not like you're pro-Israel and you have AIPAC. It belongs to Israel. That's
and it's basically an accord saying, okay, you agree to support Israel and you'll get X, Y, and Z.
Yes. So when someone says I'm going to do this for Israel, and Israel says, well, if you do that, I'll send you $150 million. The check comes from AIPAC because that's how Israeli money comes into the American banking system. That's why it has to register as an international foreign lobby. Right now, it's registered as, let's say me and you have a problem with an American company. We'll pick one. I don't know. Let's say Monsanto. We haven't used them as a punching bag for a few years. Maybe we don't like them, right? So, me, you, and Revan, we get together. We create an association, an organization. We name it something fancy. Americans Against Monsanto, right? And then we start walking the floors of the Senate and the floors of the White House, and we start lobbying for political attention. And if we receive that political attention, we will do fundraisers. And if the American people are with us, we will take that money and we will donate it to the politicians who sided with us. And that's a lobby. Right? That's what it's all about, because it's all happening in the lobby. That's the point. Yeah. It's okay. And that's an American lobby. So you're lobbying the politician to do something for you. Okay. And that's an American doing it to their own government and asking for help. That's not what AIPAC is. AIPAC is the nation state of Israel walking the lobbies.
Saying, I'll give you money if you bow down to Israel.
If you send me soldiers to help win this front on my war, I'll send you financial dollars. Or if you just send me money as an aid pack, I'll vote with you on the next United Nations Council. Right? All of these things, right? So, but that's what AIPAC is for. That's what its body, that's what its function is. It's like any lobby. It doesn't matter. It's the Jewish lobby, like the Americans Against Monsanto lobby. We're just happen to be against Monsanto. We're lobbying for support. They're for Israel. They're lobbying for support, but they're not Americans. It's just based in America. That's why the A is there first. They hid it just like they hid the Federal Reserve.
Is lobbying in a government should only pertain to issues of that respective country, not foreign countries.
That's right. Go ahead, Revan. You found something?
Breaking. United States vetoes Security Council draft resolution that would have demanded immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, and immediate, dignified, and unconditional release of all hostages held by Hamas and other groups. 14.
So they vetoed that?
Yeah.
So basically, they just voted to continue the bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always like that. If you go and you watch like the see, that's the thing. I watch the boring shit. No one wants to watch the boring shit, but I've watched the Americans veto, because like it's the Americans, the Russians, like there's like 7, like the G7, right? Those ones they hold, and of the G7, there's a few of them that hold veto powers, which means if one of them says no, then nobody moves. So like Russia holds veto powers on things. So you're like, no, you're not doing that. And then we can't move. We can't do it either. That is what prevents World War III. But it's being atrociously abused right now in the United States.
To keep conflict going.
Yes.
October it was put in place to stop conflict, but now it's being used to keep conflict going.
Okay, now do you remember
if everybody's not agreed, nobody does shit.
Right. Now, do you remember when people were saying the good old-fashioned anti-Semitic claim of from the river to the sea? Remember that one? Yeah. Where they were saying that Hamas was wanting to destroy all of Israel from the river to the sea? Do you guys know what the Israeli flag represents? The blue bar on the top is the sea or the river, and the blue bar on the bottom is the sea or the river. I just don't know. One's the River Jordan and the other one's the fucking whatever. I'm not going to pretend like I know everything. Okay. And in the middle is the
country of Israel.
It's
represented by the Star of David.
Yeah, but apparently it's not even the Star of David. It's the Star of Remphan. People need to get that one out. That nowhere in the biblical context is ever, period, do we have anything called the Star of David. Not even Jewish scholars don't even know where the star came from. But if you look up what Remphan is, that gets scary real quick. But anyway, the star in the middle of those two blue lines is Israel stating nothing but Jews are going to be allowed between the river and the sea. Hamas just took their own slogan and spun it on its top and used it against them. So Hamas is like, hey, Israel, you want to say from the river to the sea? Fuck you. I want to say from the river to the sea. So now we're going to fight until we figure out who lives inside of the space that's called the river to the sea. That's why when people started saying Hamas is saying this, and they weren't the first ones to say it. Remember, this conflict has been going on for 75 years. People showed up, kicked people out of their houses, started murdering people, and the cycle just rinse and repeat. More and more land, take and take and take and take. And now the United States, not the United States, the United Nations, my apologies, has declared that it's a genocide. Like it's not even a question anymore. The university professors that research what qualifies as a genocide has declared that it's a genocide. So we have them, they stated it was a genocide. The United Nations has declared it a genocide. And the kicker in the teeth is that Israeli scholars, people who learned what a genocide was according to what Adolf Hitler did to their ancestors, and then learned in their own universities, in their own nation state, from the mouth of their own people, it has been declared that it is a genocide. So it's not like it's just me that's saying this is bad. It's fucking horrible. It's horrendous.
You're just quoting documentation at this point.
I do that the very best that I can, and when and I'll tell you, I'm just going to make shit up now. I'm just going to lie. This is what's coming. This is what's brewing in my head. Here it is. But that's documented. So the whole
Well, I mean, in investigating the case, all you can do is present the evidence as it is. Okay, this is a fucking towel. Okay, I am declaring that it is a towel. You can see that it is a towel. It has the material and makings of a towel. Definitively, this is a towel.
That's right.
Okay, there's your evidence. I said this is a towel. I proved it's a towel. You want to handle the towel?
And you can find the maps on Google where it's like, give me the timeline. They give me the Palestinian-Israeli landmass timeline. And one color is gray and one color is green. And as you look through the years, a disproportionate thing takes place real quick. Where it used to be peppered in gray, which was the Jewish settlers, it turned into only being peppered in green, which is the Palestinian people. And the peppered in green today is peppered far less than what it used to be peppered in gray, which means this is the most insult to people's intelligence ever. Okay. It means that the Israelis went in and took and left. They left less land for the Palestinian people than the Palestinian people allowed the Israelis to have when they landed. So a pie, for instance, when the Israelis landed, I'm just going to make shit up. I'm making shit up right now, but it's to illustrate the point. When the Israelis landed in Palestine, Palestinians said, I'm going to give you 45% of this pie. And when you grow, I'm going to give you a little bit more.
96% of the pie.
Right, and no, that's all I'm getting at. And then when it grows, I'll give you 50% of the pie. Well, now that Israel has taken everything that it's taken, when the Palestinian says, I'm going to give you 45% of the pie upon arrival, the Israelis are not even giving them 25% of the pie. They're not even leaving them. They're leaving them with less than what was given to them to start with.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's horrible. It's just horrible.
It's very horrible.
And getting back
to Charlie
Kirk and the wife and the in on it and the money and the only way we're going to know is if Turning Point USA all of a sudden just becomes this extremely obtrusive, loud, pro-Israeli voice. If it becomes that, then everything that needed to happen has happened. And you know what, bro? Not even going to care.
I'm gonna let Miss Kirk take that $100 million and set her fucking. I don't care. She lost her husband. They lost the father. You take the payout, baby girl, and you go fucking relax and you retire. We understand.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Well, my thing is
her. If that happens, I won't speak ill of her. I won't. I'll let that sleeping dog just die in a corner. We won't support Turning Point USA. We won't promote it, anything like that. But if it goes in the other direction, where it becomes a megaphone for ensuring that the nation state of Israel must register with FARA and become a recognized international lobby, that'd be huge. That'd be like auditing the Federal Reserve. It's that kind of big. Like it's up there with importance. So if they start screaming in that direction, then it's
going to be interesting.
Yes, we will know that she is continuing the fight and she's picked up his mic and the blood's still fucking dripping, but she's still trucking. If she goes in a I am not deterred direction with Israel, then we will know that it wasn't paid for. If all of a sudden it just flip-flops over to being 100% pro-Israeli all of a sudden, and the problem is that I have this slight feel because certain talking points are coming out, like Nick Fuentes and these other people that Milo's coming out of retirement. Like people talk about like trying to grandstand and take the bloody mic and take his light and so on and so forth. Like motherfucker died and people are like coming out of retirement chasing his fucking microphone. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, Alex Jones, he's taken to doing what Kirk was doing, making appearances at college campuses and stuff like that. He went out this past week and got the ball rolling with that. Do we know, Brevin, you look like you're looking shit up. Do we know if Alex Jones is continuing on with the tour that Charlie Kirk was doing? Because I know some of the things he's hit, some of the places he's looking to hit are reminiscent to tour dates that Kirk initially had. There are some differences. Is he going to finish up Charlie's tour on behalf of Charlie's organization?
From what I'm getting is that Ben Shapiro is going to take over.
Oh, fuck Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Self-proclaimed.
And I heard something about that. She didn't say him by name, but Candace Owens said something about that. And maybe it wasn't Candace Owens. Maybe it was just some liberal. Man. Oh, man. Candace Owens going to kick me in the balls for saying that one. It's like, you compared me to a liberal. I see so much information that comes across my desk every day. I have trouble keeping straight of who said what. So I'm sorry. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I did not mean anything. Don't hurt me, Candace.
I don't think it's only him. I think by what he's saying is that they're gonna take the microphone and continue where Charlie left off, like Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, and continue to where he left off.
Others. Yeah. I was just kind of wondering if Alex was picking up that tour and, maybe doing a partnership with Kirk's organization in light of his passing. But
let's see here.
I don't know, because he announced that he was going to do this and he's doing it. So I was wondering, is this like a collaboration with Charlie Kirk's wife and the organization to fill in for Kirk since his passing, or if this is something that Jones is doing on his own? Because if Jones is doing a collaboration and working with Erica Kirk, then with his anti-Israel stance, Connor might just get his way.
It would be nice. And we've said Candace Owens' name a lot today, and I'm really, like, honest to goodness, I'm really hoping that if we say it enough, she'll show up, because I actually like this chick. I think
same here. I mean, I can't say I agree with her on all points, but
we're not supposed to. That's the fun part, right? Like,
yeah, but for the most part, I'd say she's a woman after my own heart.
Well, it's just eyes wide open. She doesn't hold a fear. But okay, so back in the day, you would say Israel, and a great many of these talking heads would be like, I ain't touching that with a 10-foot post. Not even, I ain't fucking that with your dick, right? So they wouldn't touch. Now there's a very select few individuals that when you say, wait, does Israel have anything to do with this? They don't look at you like you're crazy. They're like, wait, let me look into that. She's one of those. Yeah. Right. I would love to pick that woman's brain. I would love to reach out and be like, yo, you want to come and do a fucking 1 hour live stream with us? And like, no constraint. Like that's the thing about our platform. She would have zero constraint. She could literally say whatever the fuck she wanted. And that.
Yeah. Like there's only one thing she said, and she said it recently is, I think it might have been Candace that said, you know, about this person who's taking up for Kirk. She said this fat Catholic or something like that. And I think maybe some liberals said it as well. But Candace was very outspoken about this issue. She didn't say names, but she was saying something about, you know, being you can't dethrone the king and take his spot as the king because I forget whether she said she was, whether she said she was the Templar or... Mason.
She said, I'm one of the Mason turning points.
What was it? The Mason? Did she say she was a Mason?
Yes, which is why I want to speak to her.
Yeah, I would love to speak with her on that and get clarification on that. Because from my understanding, you know, New World Order aside, from what I understood for the longest time, Catholicism was very anti-Mason. Like you could not be a Freemason and be a member of the Catholic Church for the longest time. You know, when I was researching my book, that was something that a bit of piece of information that I had found out. I do not know if that is still the case, but I know that the Catholic Church, like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, does generally try to stay clear of that. You know, it's like, do your thing, you know, if that's what you want to do, you know, that's separate from us. We're not going to punish you for it, but, you know, don't put our name in your lot kind of thing.
Well, it's because Masons are proponents of religious freedom, and being a proponent of religious freedom creates a specific vacuumed void, which is you could be Satanist and still be a Mason. You could be a Zionist and still be a Mason.
Russia has declared Satanism as a terrorist organization.
Yeah, and the United States is declared as a religion.
Yeah.
Right? So that would be Russia's pretext to go after the terrorists, you see. But here's the problem. American Satanists, they're not Satanists. No, they're not. No. Do they read the Talmud? Do they do the fucking ritual? Like, no. These guys get together at a fucking cemetery and pray for the dead. It looks different, looks weird, and whatever the fuck, right? Maybe they're asking a little bit of guidance from the prince from below because the king from above doesn't talk to them right now. Maybe, but when we start talking about like truly satanic acts, like believing that Jesus is in hell, boiling in fucking human excrement, that's a satanic worldview. Ritualistically fucking killing children, that's a satanic worldview. Man, some of these Satanists in the United States can't even muster up killing a cat on fucking on All Hallows Eve, right? So like, no, they're babies. They're still in diapers. They don't understand it. But it's a great thing to say that, because yeah, and here I am being a fucking asshole again, saying that unfortunately Kabbalistic Jewish fucking Talmud reading people, that's your Satanists. That's they're the ones that are actually doing the bloodletting. They're the ones that are killing the kids with fucking bombs inside of schools and hospitals. And look at Palestine. Ritual, like there's people that are trying to make people realize that like when mass amounts of death take place on a specific day, at a specific time, in a specific place, this all becomes...
You're talking about the blood moons.
Yes, this all becomes ritualistic in nature. And quite literally done on purpose, and it affects the human psyche. It's weird. It's very weird how it reverberates. We can see it 2 times in our living history. 9/11, all of a sudden the whole world just started crying. Man, it's like that's a lot of dead, and everybody knew there was a big war coming, and like it affected everybody in an emotionally impacting way. And I know it did for me. I was only 17. The second time in my life I felt like that was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It had the vibrational reverberations, the emotional impact that just went all around the world. It's not just everything that does that. And there's some serious...
We were just bitch slapped with magic, is what you're saying. In both instances, we were bitch slapped with magic.
If you ever had to say it, yeah, like somebody understood shit and they did some shit, and here we are mourning some shit, and we're still talking about the shit, and nobody can flush the toilet, so I can go take a shit. So it's like, it's fucked. And of course, if you remotely believe it or think it, or now you're crazy. Now you're crazy. But it's like, how does a person that an individual has never actually met generate that response? Is it because it's in our face all the time? It was like on the phones and everybody's staring at it and everybody's looking for information. And man, I'm at the point that I don't even believe the shooter shot him at the angle that he shot him at. Like, I don't even believe it came from the fucking roof. I think it came from the video camera beside him, and the physics kind of explains it, right? Like he slumped to the left, right? Yeah. Like if he should have been blown out of his chair, not as in like he should have, like he deserved it. No. If I stand on a motherfucking roof and I shoot you from that distance and that hits you neck on, fucking chest on, like, you should have flown backwards in a like the chair toppling kind of way, right? Like, yeah. But no. And then everybody, like, here's the big thing. You know the blotch of blood that we've all seen in that horrific video? Okay, that's not the entry wound. That's the exit wound. Bullets fly in straight lines. For it to come out here, it had to go in roughly. And you could see that the hole is in a downward angle. You could see that the hole is roughly here. And here, it would have came in like this, from this angle, flop right behind the ear, and then you'd have an exit wound here, and it would look exactly like it looked. But the media sold the exit wound in the frontal aspect as the entry wound from across the fucking roof.
Yeah, and that's one thing you kind of just segued into the direction I wanted to take this conversation. And we got to start wrapping this up soon because I got to get ready for work. I got to be out of here within the next hour. But there's a lot of things that aren't adding up. Like you said, the wound. There was the issue with the guard allegedly shooting Charlie. And come to find out it was just the cell phone under his arm. And now you have the issue of there may have been a second person on the roof, not necessarily somebody who took a shot, but that there was a second person on the roof. You also have allegedly a drone flying over around the same time, and the surveillance footage, when enhanced, looks nothing like the person they arrested and said was the shooter. And starting with that, I want to say, when you enhance things, you're using artificial intelligence to enhance it. Having tinkered with AI myself, it doesn't always turn out accurate. So if they enhanced it with AI, it is not outside the realm of possibility that the image that is being shown in the image of the person they claim is the shooter, it's not unreasonable to say that they don't look the same because AI didn't get it right. Didn't render it properly.
I'll tell you what I saw when I went through this, and I went fucking frame by frame. Right? And I was explaining this to my son too. I was like, dude, it's not healthy. You should not fucking watch somebody get shot in the fucking neck on repeat, frame by frame, fucking like almost 100 times. But I did it. Okay. And these are the intricacies and inadequacies that I found inside of my, like, I'm just gonna look at this shit. Okay, man died. Okay, man died. Okay, he's gonna die in the next 20 fucking times I watch it. So I desensitized. First, thank God I'm an 80s child and I grew up with Freddy Krueger and fucking Friday the 13th and some of the most gruesome kills, right? Like I've been otherwise desensitized to, okay, man died.
To the narrative.
Right? So when I started observing frame by frame by frame, there's just shit, dude, that makes no sense. One, why the fuck is there this black thing floating across his shirt from left to right, or maybe right to left, whatever? It's on the fucking shirt and it's no longer on its shirt, and that thing becomes the exit wound, the hole. That was an intriguing one for me. The one that was another one, hard to catch. Someone had to point it out.
Are you talking about maybe a freaking laser pointer?
No, like it's about like this give or take, and it's just kind of fluffing and just kind of chilling right around here on his shirt, right? And then as you're pushing through, you're pressing, it goes. The damn thing walks up his fucking collar and finishes here, and it's the exit wound. Really fucking weird shit. The other one was he had the word freedom across his chest, and as you're going through, the F for the word freedom disappears. But there's no like flailing of the shirt that means that like the shirt would have buckled over and covered the. You could see that the shirt is nicely flat and placed against the man's chest. The letter fucking.
So what you're saying is we got edited footage.
I'm not done, because the only reason why I found these two things is because I found the last one first. His ring.
The ring.
The ring jumped from his fucking married ring finger to his goddamn binky.
I saw that and I pointed that out. That is clearly photoshopped, and I can tell you why. You look at the nature of the fingers.
Yep.
Okay? His ring was on his ring finger, but then they said it was on his pinky. Now, I'm going to set you down so we can actually do this. What they did was they took these two fingers and just overlaid them here. You still had the index, you still had the middle finger, you still had that finger, but they took these two fingers, the middle and the ring, and made them the ring and the pinky finger. So that his ring finger was his pinky, and his ring finger stuck out equally as big as his middle finger. Okay, that was straight Photoshop, and very badly at that.
So that was in the clip. So the ring jumping, the F disappearing, and the black thing running over and becoming the exit wound was all part of the clip that I kept rewinding because it was the ring that caught my attention first. And I just had the biggest deja vu here, because I never thought for a million years I would ever be speaking to somebody and discussing how a fucking hand photoshopped ringer thing and then it actually being important and it actually meaning. I literally had a dream about this, but I mean years and years and years ago, like not after probably Kirk got killed. I had it. No, years and years and years ago, I was talking about the importance of something as simple as a person's ring. And it was in a dream, and fucking here we are. It's weird, dude. It's weird.
They're creating distractions, big time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of misdirection happening
because they don't want us to focus on one thing. I've been seeing a lot of distractions, and I'm laughing at it. But one of them is there's a guy in a brown shirt, not very far from Charlie Kirk. Yeah, he has sleeves are rolled up and shit, and he's doing this. Right as he put the mark down, what's this?
Yeah, there is no doubt that this was pre-planned. It was a planned execution. Even everything correlating to the shooter, his Discord, his text messages, and everything. Even though a lot of the things aren't adding up, they are creating the narrative that this was pre-planned. And we may not have the true story. The true story may be vastly different from the official story. But we need to keep digging because there's allegedly a second person on the roof. You have that drone. You have the clearly edited video of the shooting that was doctored after the fact. And you guys all know I've been doing video editing since I was fucking 17. And I'm now 41. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And when somebody pointed out the whole thing with the ring, I caught that right off the bat. I'm like, dude, that's his fucking middle finger. They just moved his fingers.
So now what we got to do is find the closest thing to the original that we can and see if it happens.
Yeah.
What are you guys' thoughts on this will that Charlie Kirk had, allegedly? Where if he died, his ring and his wife's ring goes with him to the grave. And out of nowhere, she has two rings. She's wearing 2 rings worth $40 million.
Fucking rich
Are you
people.
suggesting that maybe she was in on the plot? Or just decided to say fuck his will and took the rings?
No.
What is your insinuation?
Her ring and his ring was supposed to go with him in the grave. And then all of a sudden, she's out with a set of $40 million rings. But found out that Trump gave them to her?
See,
I don't know. There's a lot of questions there. But we got to go ahead and start wrapping this up. One final point I just want to make before we close here. I want to go back to what we were saying earlier about the divide and conquer narrative. Not every fucking trans is a shooter any more than any Muslim is a fucking terrorist. Not every fucking furry is a problem. Not every gay person or trans person wants access to kids. Not all these people are Satanists. It's a small group. And it does not represent the majority of these communities as a whole. No. I know several people who are gay and lesbian. They don't go out shaking their bits in public in front of kids. They're at home living their lives with their families, doing their own thing. What they do is they do in the privacy of their own bedroom. Same with furries. Most furries just do their own thing, mind their own fucking business. Yes, sometimes you'll see them out at the mall, but they're not trying to recruit and molest your kids and get them to go trans or any of that. They're just living their lives, doing their own thing. Yeah, you may think it's weird or whatnot. You know, I'm not a furry myself. I can't say that I relate to the culture, but I will say, having had interactions with many people within these varying communities, even trans community, asshole blogger is trans. I would never in a million years think that he would be a shooter or trying to convert kids. Maybe King Cole. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past Cole to maybe cross that line and become a mass shooter or something.
Well, number one, don't be one of these fluffy fuckers just like a wolf and try to mingle with actual wolves.
Yeah, that shit ain't gonna work.
Yeah, that's not going to go well. But you know, again, that's not the majority. That's not the majority of these communities. Most of these communities, you know, they're just people. They want to feel like they are a part of a community and they connect on this certain thing. You know, it's like an anime convention. You go to an anime convention or you go to a Star Trek convention. You know, you go to a Star Trek convention. You got Trekkies. You don't think that these Trekkies think that they're part of Captain Kirk's crew working on the USS Enterprise or any of that shit? No. They're just people who come together for something that they like, and that's it. They're not bad. Most of these people are not bad people. Most trans are not terrorists or shooters. You know, like I said, asshole blogger went trans. I'm not going to give you his information, but he and I kept in touch for the longest while. He came to regret going through the transition, but he didn't go fucking ape shit and blame everybody else. He's like, you know, this I walked down this road. Come to find out, it wasn't for me. I regret having gone down this road, but it is what it is. And he went and got involved in Buddhism and joined a monastery. Okay,
eunuchs, man. There's all kinds of people like that in this world.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who, have come to regret going down that road with the whole trans thing. And, they're just trying to live normal lives. Not every person that goes down that road is going to wind up a shooter. It's not going to happen any more than any Muslim is going to become a terrorist that's going to hijack a plane and crash it into a building. Okay, we need to not perpetuate that stereotype.
No.
Now, I can understand where a lot of people are concerned with the division in terms of social acceptance and view Charlie Kirk as being unaccepting of people who are different. That was not the case. He is not a Nazi. He is not anti-gay or anything like that. He's just stating facts as they're available. And that is why the shooter and people within that community got pissed off, because he was presenting facts based on actual evidence that nobody could refute. So if you can't win a fight, their answer was, if you can't win the fight, you just shoot the person you're debating with.
You eliminate the opposition as a whole.
Exactly. If you can't win a debate, you just bye the person that you're debating with. And most people would agree, even people within these communities and LGBT who are gay and whatnot would agree. Two men can't have a baby. Biological men should not be competing in women's sports, decimating their records, and even in many instances causing the biological female combatants to sustain serious bodily injury. Right? Same with people and trans people going into women's bathrooms, women's locker rooms, even women's prisons. We've seen many, many cases of where this goes horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And this is where Charlie Kirk's message was. He wasn't anti anybody. He wasn't a bigot. He was stating biological facts, stating, I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you want to pretend that you're this thing or that you do this thing. You're not going to do it in women's spaces. You're not going to subject our children to it. And it doesn't need to be publicly flaunted. And you cannot demand that society accepts, or I should say rejects, all of human history's basic biology that has been long since established since life first appeared on this miserable fucking dirt ball. Charlie Kirk never said anything against anybody. He was never a bigot about it. He just said, do whatever you're going to do. Just don't fucking flaunt it in everybody else and everybody's way. Don't demand that society reject basic biology. Stay out of women's spaces and stay the fuck away from the kids, which most gay people and furries and even trans would agree. Most, not saying all, there are a few weirdos out there, but most people within these communities would agree with those sentiments. But George say Charlie Kirk might have been a bad person because they heard he said mean things. Can't even show where he said mean things, just that, so-and-so who heard it from so-and-so who heard it from so-and-so said that Charlie Kirk said bad things. It's bullshit.
I can agree, because my wife one time told me to do the dishes. I said, I can't. She says, why? Because it's against the law for men joining women's sports.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. On that note, I got to get ready for work. Gentlemen, thank you. So on behalf of Revan and Connor, this was a great discussion. Look forward to doing it again.
Absolutely.
And thanks to everybody who tuned in for this broadcast. As always, Check us out on Rumble, YouTube, and X, and soon to be on Facebook as well. All at Real TWBRN. Also, check out our online store. Get our Truth is Louder Than Bullets Charlie Kirk shirt, along with other great merchandise at our online store. Link is in the description of this video. And until next time, I got to take my happy ass to work. This is the Tin Man with the Resistance on behalf of Connor and Revan. If you're watching this, you are the Resistance.